Florence Scovel Shinn talks a lot about the divine design for your life. She says there is a place that you are to fill and no one else can fill, something you are to do which no one else can do. Many people, however, are in ignorance of their true destinies and are striving for things and situations which do not belong to them and would only bring failure and dissatisfaction if attained. I love this idea of there being a divine design for your life. And I think that there are a lot of people that love this idea, right? That there is something that you are to do which no one else can do. And imagine if everybody was out there striving for that thing that was special for them to do that nobody else could do, right? Not trying to compete with others. You hear sometimes people are like, oh, you want to be the next this person. No, you want to be the one and only you, the first you. You might be similar to another person, but you don't want to be someone else. You want to be who you were meant to be. And earlier in the year, I started trying to find what is my God inspired goal, right? What is a God inspired goal that I have? And at the time, I felt like, I don't know. I don't know. I can think of anything. And the idea behind a God inspired goal is that it's a goal that is so big that you cannot do it on your own, that God needs to intervene on your behalf and help you to do this thing because it has to be so big that it isn't something that you can really truly conceive of just being able to do by yourself. And I felt at the time like, well, I certainly have some big goals that seem really big, but there was something different about the idea of a God inspired goal. It feels more purposeful, right? Like a big goal is to have the beautiful house that I want to have on a bunch of acreage and have a little, hobby farm and things like that. Like that's a big goal that I can't quite see how I could do it on my own, but it didn't feel like the God inspired goal, right? It might be, in fact, the thing that comes after that, right? That might be what the thing that I can get from pursuing the God inspired goal. But I realized as I went on, I realized that I do have one and I'm not sharing it right at this moment because I think that these things aren't meant to be shared in advance. You're meant to go after it on your own, meaning not telling the whole world about it, right? So you set the goal and then you work to achieve it with your divine assistance, right? Because it's in the divine design. But what I really like about what Florence Scovel Shinn says here is that people are in ignorance of their true destinies and are striving for things and situations which do not belong to them. How many people are out there right now striving for things and situations which do not belong to them? I bet that there's a lot of people that would immediately recognize themselves in that place. I guess when I was working in what I called it my accidental career, so my insurance job that I worked in for over 10 years, I was never really striving very hard in it. I was more interested in getting out of it. But I put myself in a box with it too. I was kind of like, oh, I'm not. That was actually, I talked in another video about feeling this sense of not being worthy, right? And a lot of that came from working a job that didn't fit me right. It made me feel like I wasn't good enough to do the things that I really wanted to do, right? My heart was calling for me to do certain things, but who am I to do that? Who am I? I'm not good enough to do that. Other people get to do those cool things, but I have to work in this dumb job because I'm just not even good enough to do anything else. This is all I can do. So I really felt like that for quite a while. And now, whenever I think about it a little bit, I think that those things that your heart is calling you to, those things that you're like, oh, I wish that I could do that. Those are probably like little hints at your God inspired goals, right? Like, and it's not the fake things, not the like somebody else is doing something and you're like, oh, that sounds so cool. I wish I could do something like that. But in your heart of hearts, you really know you do not care. Or maybe, oh, that sounds nice, but like actually, that's really not what I want to do. Like, I'm not super athletic. I never wanted to be an Olympic athlete. Like, that's an amazing thing for some people. That is not my dream, right? That is not my thing to follow. And I think that sometimes we follow those things when they're not our things to follow because we feel like that's what we should do. We feel like, well, that's what maybe society tells us, or maybe that's what our parents tell us. I think that there's a lot of people out there that get stuck in what their parents tell them to follow, right? Especially this maybe is a holdover from old times because people would go into the family business, right? That was the way that things used to be, is that if your family had a business, like then you are meant to go into that business. Like that is what you do in this family. That's what you do. You go into this business. And there are so many people that have gotten stuck in that and they're like, well, I have to do this even though I have the heart of an artist, or I have this other thing that I want to do. Like I have to do that because that's how I've been raised and that's what I've known my whole life. Sometimes we don't question the things we've been hearing our whole life, but most of us, if we really quiet down, we can hear, we can feel what our hearts are leading us to. What does your heart really want you to do? What are the things that you have really loved? What are the daydreams that you have? We talked about imagination yesterday. What are the daydreams that you are having every day? Those things that you're thinking about that you wish that you could do. I have always been a traveler. That's that's been a huge part of who I am and my identity. And there was a point where we would have friends that would buy their forever home, right? They would be like, "Oh, this is my forever home. I've got the big house." And I was like, "That is not for me." And it's interesting now because I did a lot of traveling and now I'm living back in the place that I grew up, um, in my home state, which I was gone from for 18 years, and I wanted to go. I knew I would go, and I was like, no, I need to go. But now I'm back, and I love being back. And now I'm like, oh, now I want the forever home, right? And I want the land, and I want just this beautiful place that I can really call my own. And as much as I know I love traveling, it's interesting how not called to it I am right now. That I'm much more called to be at home right now and to stay home. And even when I hear people talking about these big trips that they are taking, I'm not feeling that pull anymore. And I used to really feel it, right? And I think that throughout your life, those things that pull you will change. Of course they'll change. You change. They're meant to change. You go through different seasons of your life and they're meant to be different. But when we follow the guidance of our heart, right? And reach for the God inspired goals and not just trying to do things because it's the popular thing to do. Well, everyone else is doing this, or this is the kind of person that people really respect. I want to go out and be a lawyer or a doctor because they make lots of money and everybody really respects them. And I want that. You know, like, is your heart calling you to it? Or is it just something you're seeing in society and you're like, oh, I should do that? Is it that you know, have never had money and you desire more money and you look at it and you think that's the way that I'm going to get it? That's the only way that I can get it. You would be probably shocked to realize that there are all kinds of crazy things that people can do that bring in money that are not the traditional, right? That are much more specific to them and unique to them, and that they had to follow their heart. They had to follow their God inspired goal to reach those things, and that nobody else could have really done it the same as they did. So, what is that thing that is calling to your heart, right? What is your true destiny? And I don't feel like destiny is like a one thing, like, oh, I've reached it. Now I'm there. It's like forever your heart is leading you forward. Forever you're moving in new directions and having new things. Like you will achieve something and there will be a next thing. You climb the mountain, and at the top, it's not that you have reached the summit and you are there and everything is done. It's that then you can see the next mountain beyond it. Like there will always be another thing. We're meant to grow and expand and continually move forward. So notice those things that your heart is calling you toward, not not fear, right? Because fear pulls us toward things sometimes. So we do a lot of things out of fear. So not those things that fear is pulling us toward, not those things that someone else is telling us we need to do. We have to follow what they say that we have to do. What is coming from in you, right? God placed that in you so that you would be the one who would do it. And you're probably whatever it is so big that you feel incapable of it, because that's part of how it's meant to be, because you're meant to grow into the person that can do that thing, right? The point of the thing is who you grow into on the journey to getting there. So it's not even completely about attaining the goal in the end. It's about the growth that happens along the way. And you're meant to grow in that way. You're meant to learn and move forward in that way because that was for you. And that was part of your journey. Everybody's journey is different, and that's totally okay. We look at celebrities maybe and we go, oh, they've had such an amazing life. Like, I wish I could have a life like that. And it feels like, oh, I wasn't them. I still get that sometimes. I look at some other people and I'm like, look at all the things that they have done. I didn't do those things, but they weren't mine to do. There are other things that are mine to do, and it's hard to like sit back and kind of go, okay, well, what's mine to do, and how can I take the steps forward to do that? But you've just got to start, and you've just got to work toward that thing and follow your own heart and not somebody else's. All right, that was day 7 of my 30 days of YouTube challenge that I am doing to get myself into the habit of recording, to get myself over the mountain that I have made out of YouTube. So if you're following along, please let me know. I would love to know who you are and if you have a God-inspired goal, a thing that is your destiny. I was going to say, tell me in the comments, but actually don't, right? You're meant to, I think when you're in the process of working toward these things, you're meant to keep them to yourselves. So if you have one that you've already achieved that was like a big one, but that's already done and you're on to the next, tell me the old one. Tell me the one you've already done, because you want to guard the ones that are here and not fully achieved yet a little bit from everybody, right? You can tell those few special people, but you don't want the outside world to give you all their input, because the outside world can give some crazy and terrible input. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye.